It's basketball time. Oh, he's feeling it. He drove a dart from 3-3-0.
Come on, Cavs. Gotta make it happen. Come on, Cavs.
Right down Euclid School.
Gotta make it happen with your fast break action. Gotta make it happen. Just keep on coming on. Gotta make it happen. Come on, Cavs.
We got you guys locked in for the inaugural episode of the Rubber Rim Job podcast. RchfldCavRaised is your host today, along with his amazingly handsome co-host, Jiggo. Jig, how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I got Sean Kemp in my background here.
No, I'm seeing Z right now, but
what?
I'm seeing Zydrunas Ilgauskas on my screen.
Is that Z?
That is Z. Z looks absolutely just like Sean Kemp. I could see where you would confuse
Holy
the
shit,
two.
man! I gotta make a change. I didn't realize that was Z.
What we're doing here with the Rubber Rim Job podcast is we want to open up the microphone to the community, the RCF community. Let's sound off, man. There's so many shows and so many podcasts that are out there where guys are trying to pretend like they got all these connections and they're doing all this. What we want to do with this show is let's just bring RCF to life. Let's just have this conversation ongoing where you can press play, whether you're commuting or whatever. And it's literally like, instead of having accidents because you're trying to read the forum, you can just press play and be cued in and locked in.
I feel good about it, man. I feel real good about it. I'm very disappointed that this actually isn't Sean Kemp in my background. I thought they were the same guy, but I'm pumped about the show.
Are you able to see that? I'm viewing it here.
Yes, I can see it. I can see it.
So
no, I'm pumped, man.
Let's give a little bit of a bio, right? So one of the formats of the show is we're gonna take these calls, and then one of the best calls from whatever that active show is, we're actually gonna turn off that guy's shot clock, give him a call, and have him locked in with us live for a couple minutes during the show. We're gonna show you guys how we're gonna do that. So I'm gonna start off with that. Whenever we give you guys a call and your shot clock is turned off, we're gonna ask you where you're from, how long you've been a Cavs fan, and your most memorable Cavs memory. So for me, I'm from Akron, Ohio. Really, I was born up in Cleveland, moved down to Akron after about 10 years. And about 6-7 years old, man, my dad, my father, and my godfather, they both were working at the Chrysler plant up in Twinsburg. Are you familiar with that, Jig?
I am.
They were working up there, and they had season tickets together to drive out to Richfield Coliseum 40-something nights out of a season. And about 6 or 7, man, I caught the bug. And, my pops took me to my first game. My very first game, I spent the entire game. It was against, I think, the Nets or something like that. Drazen Petrovic and all those guys.
Yep.
I spent the entire game watching the cotton candy guy working up and down the aisle. And so on the drive back, my dad is like, dude, I get it. You want peanuts and cotton candy. He's like, but what we want to be doing is we want to be locked in. We got to be watching these guys. He was like, who's your favorite player? What did you like about the way Lenny was working the sidelines? All of that.
Yep.
This is about 89, 90 or so. So that next game, because I want to impress my dad, I had done my research, man. I was locked in. I'll never forget. Yeah, I think it was a game against the Hawks that next time. I knew everybody on the Hawks. I knew, I had my favorite Cavs by this point in time, Craig Elo. And I'm I was locked in. And I've had the Cavs bug ever since, man, 6-7 years old.
How'd you end up with Elo, out of curiosity?
So, Twinsburg.
How'd you land on Elo?
Yeah, Twinsburg Community Center was right up the street from where we live. Mm-hmm. It was like a neighborhood catch-all. They did a lot of social programs and stuff. Because Twinsburg is right on the cusp of Summit County and going into, is it Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, all that. And so a lot of the social programs and stuff back then in the late 80s, they were down in Akron, which is, 30 minutes down the road. So that at that community center, they would always have everything you needed in regard to, social stuff. And the Cavs would send guys out there for our recreational programs. So they did a shooting camp one time in the summer. It was Craig Elo and John Battle who came out.
I remember
And,
John Battle.
Yeah, and I think he had just got to us from the Atlanta Hawks at the time, so I had just watched him for the Hawks.
That's a good memory, dude.
You know, and I mean, I remember this stuff because me and my pops, it's like we're oil and water, but the one thing that we can talk about is our Cavs, and we've talked about them for 30-something years. So just one day in the summer, Elo and Battle showed up. I was starting to catch the bug, so I'm out there and got my elbow all out in the air where I'm shooting my jump shot, and I'll never forget Elo trying to help me make sure my shooting elbow is pointed to the rim, putting the ball on my fingertips and snapping the wrist, and he just became my favorite player after that, man.
On that team, if we're talking 89-90, that would have still been Ron Harper. You had Mark Price.
Yeah,
Brad Daugherty.
90, maybe 90, 91, somewhere in that area where I definitely remember Ron Harper, but I more distinctly remember Elo and Wilkins and Ferry by that point in time. So maybe in the next year or so.
A lesser remembered players would have been, Paul McKeskey.
Paul McKeskey, Gerald Matkins.
You gotta think about a Paul McKeskey, and you gotta think about Chris Dudley,
Absolutely.
of Shaq dunk, balls in face fame.
Who was he playing for at the time? Was it Blazers or Nets or?
I don't remember. I don't remember what team he'd been on. I mean, I could look that up real quick. Hawks sounds really good for that one.
Yeah. We'll roll with the Hawks. We'll roll with the Hawks.
We'll roll with Hawks. I don't want to get too in the weeds on that one. That is all I remember, Chris Dudley.
I feel like Dudley is like the white Chucky Brown. Like, dude played for like 20 teams in the whole league. And at some point in time, I can see Dudley playing for pretty much everybody except for the Milwaukee Bucks, man. I'm like, wait, Dudley, he got around a little bit.
So, can I get into my favorite memory? I want to launch into that off of Chris Dudley. So first of all, I'm from Chagrin. I came from Chagrin. I caught the bug probably around the same age as you.
Is it the
would have been
Chagrin
about
Tigers? What are they?
I don't know, man, because I didn't go to high school out there.
Okay.
I moved around a lot as a kid.
Me too.
I moved from Chagrin to a small town called Bryan, Ohio, which is northwest Ohio. If there's anybody from Bryan, Ohio, I'd be absolutely shocked. But if you are, message us. Let us know.
I'm over here Googling.
Brian Golden Bears.
Right. I'm over here Googling Bryan, Ohio. I can't even pull it up.
Are you really? Yeah, Google Bryan, Ohio. So anyways, Chagrin Falls is where I came from. There's a famous popcorn shop there. My dad owned a cafe out there.
Absolutely.
For a while. So caught the bug around the same age, 6, 7 years old. Big Paul McKeskey fan. Big Chris Dudley guy. Mark Price. Huge Mark Price guy, right? But I would have to say top memory's got to be the combination of the shot, the block, and the stop. I'm going to go with the stop, right?
The stop. Nice.
Gotta love a guy shuffling his feet
Man.
out on the perimeter. Shots fine, blocks fine, very exciting. But when you can see a 6'10" dude out on the perimeter, moving his feet, doing the fundamentals, getting out there, getting his hands in the air, I think people just get hung up on those exciting plays, and they just lose it a little bit, and they forget about the fundamentals sometimes. Lenny Wilkins would have absolutely loved it. No, in reality, man, 2016 finals victory, man. That's a huge memory, I think, for everybody. Everything was building up to that for everybody. I mean, I think you had a lot of tears, you had a lot of celebration for everybody. The team that you described would have been close. I mean, Michael Jordan crushed a lot of dreams back then.
Broke a
lot of dads, a lot of baby boomer and Gen X dads.
To this day, I can't
crushed.
listen to that Alan Parsons, that Bulls music. I can't.
Yeah, no, it's
like that.
No, a lot of dudes playing that at weddings and coming out with all that then or dances and all that kind of nonsense, right?
Now, in retrospect, I can look back and I can say that was awesome that we got to see it, but man, it hurt being on the other side. We have to imagine what Bulls and Pistons fans feel like through this LeBron era, like when we kept like breaking their hearts.
They were like the Hawks,
and
right?
Wizards.
Like always the bridesmaid, never the
Right,
bride,
right,
right?
right.
Like the early 90s. Is that about right? Like Hawks, Pistons, something along those lines.
Hawks, Pistons. Oh, the teams that we used to break back in the day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, like the Josh Smith, like I mean, who would have been like
The Raptors.
or the Wizards, something like that. Raptors, yeah. Probably something along
And
those
so
lines.
the teams that we foiled back then, those Richfield teams that we did the same thing the Bulls did to us. Those were like the Hawks. We beat them a couple times. The Nets. I think we played the Nets twice in the playoffs back then because I distinctly remember Kenny Anderson and Derek Coleman and Drazen Petrovic were tough.
Oh, you're talking early 90s. What the Cavs were doing back then.
Absolutely.
I was talking like Cavs, LeBron teams.
Oh, yeah. The Hawks for sure. I'm sure Budenholzer still has nightmares because those two teams should have gone further.
He's the Bucks. He's a Bucks coach, right?
Yeah. But he was with the Hawks when we killed them and then swept them the next year.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Hawks, Raptors, and the Bulls because we broke up their little thing, Tibbs and all them. Like they had to tear it down because they were like, oh,
they sure did.
Yeah, we're not getting past these guys. So
they sure did.
So to speak to heartbreak, that game last night,
Transition City.
I mean, and it was. I'm reading the guys on the board. I don't know if you had a chance or not. Mbooby We Trust. He summed up exactly where I'm coming from, and that was these dudes played their hearts out, and it hurt to be like, man, they're playing against. They should have been coached a little bit better in those last couple series because everything they had done leading up to that put them in a position where if they had just been coached a little better in those last couple series, the Kuzma open threes and the lack of rotation and stuff, but a couple of the substitution things happening, man, that game was so close, man.
It was. The reality is the ball movement up until that in the game, and I mean throughout the season in general, I've been pleased with it. I can't say I've had a whole lot of beefs with just general ball movement for the Cavs, but yes, I agree with you. That play that they ran to get the ball out to Kuzma, I think it was on the left baseline, the lower baseline, was a really good play.
It was.
Rotation out there was horrible. I mean, they weren't even close to him.
Stevens, I'm like, bro, you got my last name, and if you got one job, it's to stay in front of the guy when the game is on the line.
That was bad.
And he was just like, ole.
he was a good full second behind him, and then out on the upper baseline too. It was the same thing. He just got out. They were making him look like clay.
It was tough.
And they're a young team. I mean, they threw that stat up there that the Cavs are. It's early, but they were number one in games that were decided by one basket. So, I can't say I was counting on them winning that game against another team that was plus 500. But yeah, I mean, you obviously want to see them win all these games. I mean, you're kind of thinking like, is this season going to collapse on bad coaching, or is it going to collapse on injuries? I mean, we saw, you see these guys go down. You've already lost Colin. So, I mean, are we thinking that that's going to be?
Colin, Love, marketing. We just got a Coral back, and it literally
immediately collapsed on
man.
the game. Yeah,
literally, like it's like a. So really quickly about a Coral, because I truly believe unlocking him is the difference between fighting for fifth in the East and potentially being a play-in team. And I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I went to the game.
I'm not saying anything. I'm thinking. I'm just sitting here thinking. That's all.
I went to the game Sunday at Madison Square Garden, and this dude was working out before the game. Jig. This guy's thighs. I know we talk about it on the board all the time. This dude is a massive dude. Like when you talk about trunks and physiques and stuff, like he's
for real.
Man, so he's got this physicality, and he literally made life hell last night for Brad Beal, right? But on the other side of the ball, you cannot let it be 4-on-5. And so there was so many possessions where he not only had no intention of being aggressive and trying to make a play, he got the ball out of his hands as soon as he touched it. And I'm like, dude, we can't. I don't know if it was just that's my first night back and I got to get caught up to the speed of the game after taking a couple weeks off. But it really scared me because I saw some of that in the summer league when he was like, oh, hot potato, get this, Stevens, or take this. What's the guy that we cut? He was like a nemesis of the board. Dude from the D League who he came up and he's 6'6", 6'5" or so. And
we're not talking about Valentine, are we? Because I think he's still on the team.
No, his doppelganger. He's like 25 years old. And everybody's like, why is he playing so much and why is he still on the team?
I can't remember.
And so he was deferring to those guys in the summer league, and I was like, dude, like that's not what we need, Okoro. I know how selfless you are, but you got to make these defenses be honest. And he didn't do that for us last night. I think him and Dean Wade combined for 5 points in like 60 minutes, and that's tough.
Right.
But other than that, I love the heart of this team, the way they fight through. Every time the Wizards went on a run, and I'm talking about in real time, Jig, we watched Mobley early on. He was getting baptized by Montrez, and dude was being overly physical with him, and he adjusted. Like, you started noticing he was like, I'm going to hit him before he hits me, and I'm going to react when I got this ball quicker because the refs are letting him touch me all over the court. And you can't ask for more from this kid. So I feel like if we played them again in like a couple days, he'd come out and win that matchup very handily.
Well, there was a quote from Bickerstaff that he adjusts to coaching like literally, within the week, which I'm not shocked to hear. I mean, he's a coach's son,
man.
But I mean, the guy's a Duncan clone. I mean, the reality is this guy is just. I mean, it's the same game, right? I mean, he's the same. He really is a different player. I mean, he's a different player than anybody in the league right now, which is fantastic. You love to see that. He's so skinny. I mean, I'd love to see him put on like 15 pounds.
Right.
I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. I agree with that 100% when you see Montrez pushing him around, because up to this game, he I want to say he is the league leader in shots defended.
Yep.
And he shots contested, and he is a like top 10 in blocked shots,
Absolutely.
which for a rookie is really, really solid. So when you come in, you see a guy with a real nice center of gravity. That's a real big dude pushing him around. You see him come in, you see him learning in game, finding ways to adjust. Man, that's huge. Because I think we can all see that he's going to be really strong offensively. The way he gets in there and he goes up and he defends those shots and he gets up without fouling.
Absolutely.
Man, there's just so much.
He's a master of that when it comes to verticality, man.
I just think he really is a unique player. I wonder what the future holds for a kid like him.
Man.
But your point about Okoro, I don't know, man. I'm not. I know we're in year 2, and I know that there's been some injuries. He was strong at the end of last year, a little stronger on his 3-point shot. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He was still sub 30% on that 3-point shot. This year, I mean, I don't even want to mention what it is. It's sub Mendoza line. And I can't say that with how kind of like submissive he's been out there, that is there a place for that? I mean, is there a place for that when you're just going to keep passing the ball on 3-point shots, when you're going to keep giving the ball up? Is there even a place for that guy in the lineup?
Smart, right? Like, he's super smart. You watch him try to make sure the floor stays balanced. The games last year when he really, showed and he was especially in that Phoenix game, he was just getting his shoulder by guys, but before he ever even touched the ball, he was playing with an assertiveness. Like, you saw him cutting with a purpose. He was waiting for the ball to find him, and he was like, I'm going to get this guy on my shoulder, and he's at my mercy. When you see him doing that, he's a totally different player, even as a 2 guard. And so we've got to, this is night 1 after taking off a couple weeks. Garland, when he had that ankle injury and he missed a couple games, he came out and it took him a whole nother game or so before he really asserted himself. So we're going to see him in that Detroit game tomorrow or in the next day or so. And then we'll go from there on if he should stay in that starting lineup or if we should bring him back a little bit slower. ultimately my dream is that he does, and we're able to spoon feed him and get him to start asserting himself a little bit better.
How's that dream come true?
So the other guys on the floor are so smart. You got Allen, Mobley, Wade, and Garland, and I guarantee you they're watching film right now. And we're gonna play that post-game interview with Garland and Mobley in a second.
Okay. Okay.
The one thing that I love and appreciate about Garland is I can watch him as he's coming up the floor. He's assessing what guys need, and it gives me baby Nash kind of thing, like those old school point guards who were always aware, oh, I got to get Jig a shot because it's been a couple possessions, and I want to keep him engaged. So I know that as the games go on, the other four guys in that starting lineup are gonna make sure that he gets going early. They even did it in this game. I think he was the first attempt, if I'm not mistaken. They tried to get him off early, but then he got lost in the sauce because the Wizards were super physical. So what that looks like, to answer your question, is as these guys try to spoon feed him, I've got to see him meet that with an assertive, like, let me get to the rim, let me get these guys on my shoulder kind of thing. And he wasn't doing that last night.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. You want to go ahead and play that interview?
Let's do it.
I mean, I think we played pretty good defense. I think we just, with all the switching and chaos during the game, I think we got lost in that. I mean, we let Kuz get 2 wide open threes. That really hurt us. So, I mean, we just got to just go back and watch it. I mean, their main guys were starting to get it going. Bradley Beal, Spencer Dinwiddie, so we were trying to just take them out of the play. But we ended up in Kuz's hands, and he just made 2 big shots.
Usually we're asking, especially a young group, like what you can learn through this and coach's experience, but you guys have been perfect to this point of closing out close games. Is there a lesson in this one for you guys, though?
Yeah, for sure. Just easy breakdowns. Like I said, we just lost our man in 2 big possessions. That's all it was. We just got to go watch the film and just learn from it.
And then just being down so many bodies tonight, obviously you guys have not used that as an excuse all season. But to see what you guys were able to do with a really good team at this point, is that optimism going forward, and how do you feel on it? I'll say it.
Yeah, it's definitely. We always try to look at the bright side. There's some things we could fix, but like you said, watch the film tomorrow.
Speaking to the mic, Mobley.
Learn from it, and then next game, hopefully we can execute it better.
I think you finished with 19 points tonight. It was a rough start
so
for
low
you
key
at the beginning. How scoreless in the first quarter. What changed for you throughout the game?
I got 2 quick fouls early, which got me out the game. I just try to stay in it, stay focused, keep playing my game. It came to me eventually, but 2 fouls got me to a kind of slow start.
Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. Evan, for you, how much more comfortable are you getting working in the post?
I get more and more comfortable every game. Me and the coaches have been working a lot in the post as well as 3-point shooting, so I feel like I'm getting more and more comfortable with that.
That's courtesy of Bally Sports Ohio, that interview there. Really quickly,
We're not going to get sued for playing that, are we?
I hope not, because there was actually, I think it was about 9 or 10 minutes we played just like a couple. So
Okay, good.
So really quickly, and this is off topic.
Yeah.
Fedor has grown on me, man. I was still in Cleveland back when WKNR, when I first heard him, he was on he was like the 3rd guy on a really big show. They bring him in every once in a while. And he's on the Cavs beat now. But these last few articles and some of these interview questions and stuff, I'm like, man, this dude is growing on this job, kind of like we're sort of watching these young players starting to grow on the job as well.
Not like standard Tony Grossi fullback question.
Not at all. And I'm so loyal to my writers. So I'm a diehard. I grew up every morning going to get the Beacon Journal and reading Terry Pluto. like to me, what
Terry Pluto.
you know,
He's reading
what Pluto said went. So
Got
like
a bunch of his books.
absolutely same here. What Pluto said went. So like throughout the whole, Doherty back issues, where every day it was like, dude, is this guy gonna be out here? Or, like, are we ever gonna see this guy lace him up again? Pluto kept me at bay, with these regular updates where he was like, I'm gonna shoot you straight. Like he's not even close to coming back. And I'm like, all right, well, there, Pluto tells the truth, so we're good to go. And then from Pluto, graduating to Windhorse, and then from Windhorse to Jason Lloyd, and we've had some.
Is Windhorse ESPN in it still? What's he up to?
No idea. I
haven't either.
Because I don't watch ESPN as much, so I would say he probably is there.
He's at ESPN.
Okay.
I just did a quick look.
Absolutely. I love Windhorse went to St. V, and I'm Akron and everything. So the whole time he was here, like even though we give him crap on the board and stuff, man, I love Windy.
I never did. I like Windy.
Yeah.
Breaking wind.
So one thing we're gonna do real quick is we're gonna we're actually gonna break the order, and we're gonna actually bring in Stick Boltman. He was our first call in submission, and he's on a time crunch, so we're gonna call him in real quick. Jig, if you
get this guy in,
we're gonna get some of his feedback on the game last night. And
you can actually hear the phone ringing in there.
Absolutely.
Hello?
Stick Boltman.
Out to Booby. 3-ball. Got it!
How you doing, my brother? You're on with Rich and Jig, man, with the Rubber Rim Job podcast.
Man, I am honored to be here.
Jig,
What's up, buddy?
How's it going, guys?
It's going, man.
Can you actually hear Jiggo?
No. No.
We're gonna have to iron out that kink. So
I think we leave the kink in.
yeah, you think that kink is good for the show? So you're essentially gonna hear whatever Jig is saying, through me, because at the moment there's a technical difficulty, and with this being our first show, we expected that. So you get to kind of feel your way through that with us.
Hey, I love feeling my way through, so I'm good there.
Where are you from, Stick Boltman?
I was born in Austin, Texas. One way or another, ended up in Lynchburg, Virginia, and that's where I am now. Yeah.
And how does a Lynchburg, Virginia by Austin, Texas guy become a Cav fan? Like when did that happen in your life, and like how did you come to real Cavs fan?
Well, in middle school, I at a free gym, like after we were running track, after the pervert gym teacher would be, looking at everyone.
Yeah, we had one of those
I would
too.
always gravitate towards shooting some hoops and like hitting some shots.
Absolutely.
And there's this one time this girl came up to me. She's like, "Are you on the basketball team? You should join the basketball team." And I was like, no. So, but a girl just talked to me, so I should look into that. And before then, like, me and my dad would watch a lot of like Sports Center and stuff, so I'd be picking up highlights. And
Right.
I remember at the end of the 2004-2005 NBA season, the Cavs were right on the verge of making the playoffs.
04-05.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
did they
Jeff
lose?
McInnes. I think that was Jeff McInnes' time.
Yeah, Jeff McInnes. Did they lose that last game to the Wizards, and that's what determined that we didn't get in, or was it the Nuggets?
I can't recall exactly who they lost to, but they were right on that verge. It was the last Paul Silas year.
Yes, sir.
And from that point, I just became vested. So I would be checking out GameCast. I'd be watching national games, and I remember the next year when they played the Wizards in the first round.
Absolutely.
And it would just blew me away. And then I grew this love for basketball and the Cavs like simultaneously, and it's been very beautiful.
That's
very,
awesome,
very
man.
beautiful.
That's awesome. What brought you?
I ended up on what?
No, you good, man. What brought you to Real Cavs fan? Like around what year?
Yeah. So originally I frequented the Cavs Fanatics forums from the official Cavs site. And I remember like the Amari Safari. And eventually that site kind of closed down. And I made my way to Real Cavs fans about like 2010, 2011.
Got it. So and just after the decision.
Yep. And I remember I didn't make an account, so I would just kind of lurk and read and stuff. And a couple years later, I made an account and just was part of the community, and it was
my brother. So he was giving us Jiggo, who you can't hear, but we're gonna do some splicing and stuff. He said you said it was against the Raptors, Jig.
Yeah, they must. It looks like they had 2 wins at the end of that season. They beat the Celtics and then the Raptors. But I'm guessing whoever grabbed that 8 seed must have won a couple games because it looks like the Cavs
Celtics
also
and
had
Raptors.
a 3-game losing streak before that. That must have killed them.
Right. And so, really quickly, I think so. That was a year, and I'm talking to you again, Stick Boltman as well. That was the year we did the trade for Davis, for Eric Williams, and Tony Battie and stuff.
You got it.
And the Celtics got the 8th spot with Paul Pierce and Ricky Davis. They stole that 8th spot by 1 game. That's
Okay, so then that's what happened. You
Oh,
got it.
Man, it just brought back memories just now because I just remember, Jeff McInnes. I couldn't wait till he got on the floor because he was really
Same here.
Yeah, he kept the ball moving and stuff, and it was totally different from the beginning of the year when LeBron was fighting Darius Miles and Ricky Davis to get the ball out their hands and stuff. Yep.
You got it.
Man, so
it all comes back to Paul Pierce too.
Man, always Paul Pierce. You can count on Paul Pierce having something to do with everything. I think Paul Pierce may have been distracting Mobley on those rotations last night when Kuzma got the open shots in the corner.
Yeah, I think so.
So, Jiggo, I'm going to say this real quick, and I'm going to go back to Stick. Last night, we were trying to record this right at the end of the game. We had some technical difficulties. This guy right here, he was so committed. He was at work, and he kept stepping outside and taking my calls. And I was like, I think we're going to have you on in just a minute. Did you get a chance to watch that game last night, Stick? Or how'd that go for you? Were you just locked in?
Yeah. I was able to watch the game.
Okay.
It was it was something else, wasn't it?
Man, how'd you feel about Mobley's adjustment to how physical they were being with him, and ultimately how the game went down at the end?
Oh, it was great to see. I felt like Mobley really was assertive, and he made quick decisions on offense. Like, he picked up those few fouls early on,
right?
But when he came back in, as soon as he caught the ball, he would make his move. He would be pulling up like mid-range jump shots and just taking it to the rim, and he was doing a really good job in the offensive hub role.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a place he could excel, and that might be the Cavs' second option right now with Colin out.
Carry 6 beers at the same time. Brilliant.
I agree with that. Like with him, you said operating right there in the high post, kind of like being the hub of the offense. I agree, man. Especially these last couple games, even before then, but in that Knicks game and then last night, he's getting it and going, and the decisions he's making are usually right. Like he's really decisive, and he's moving before the defense can even react to it.
Like guys are aggressive with Mobley because he's kind of slight and everything.
Right.
And I feel like in the Wizards game especially, he utilized that to his advantage. When guys were like leaning on him one way, I feel like he kind of spun to the other way, and he was just adapting, and it's just awesome to see because offense isn't even his forte right now, but he's so damn good.
Yeah. You guys are literally saying the exact same thing. Stick, before you got on, Jig was showing a lot of love to Kevin Love about his 2016, the way he moved his body to stop Steph. And then he also gave us a breakdown about, like the some of the intangible things Mobley does on the floor that makes him really stand out. And dude, you're saying the exact same thing when you're talking about like how he's using his body weight and things like that, and how that impacts the way he attacks defenses. When we play this back and you guys hear this, it sounds like you just were listening to the show, even though we're kind of recording it and putting it out there.
That is so beautiful. Yep. I'm so glad to have chemistry.
Excellent.
You guys are like AC and John Michael, and you haven't even
got it.
So Stick, we're gonna fly. We haven't even played your call yet, so we're actually gonna make sure that we do some splicing and throw this thing around. We really appreciate you jumping on with us, and we're gonna be safe in Lynchburg. What is there in Lynch? Is it Lynchburg, Virginia, or what was it?
Yeah, Lynchburg, Virginia. Well, it's mostly strip malls and churches. There's probably more streets with churches than there are streets without churches. I haven't looked into that yet, but That's a number to keep in mind.
I'm seeing like small town kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a city. There's a lot of like rural areas, and there's a downtown, but it's growing somewhat. A lot of it's home.
It's home.
Friends, family are here, and that's all I know.
Last piece I have for you, and we'll give you some sound effects and stuff to show our appreciation. Have you been to Ohio? Have you been to Cleveland and gone to a game in person?
Yes. I was actually at the NBA 2018 Finals, Game 3.
Awesome.
Which it was a wild
experience.
The game didn't end too well, but
It was.
it was awesome to see them.
All those.
Yeah, you couldn't hear Jig, but he was like, I think that was a stomping, and you were like, the game didn't end too well, man. You guys, I'm gonna get you guys each other's number, and if you'd like to step out for a date at any given time. But thank you for your time, and I know you're heading off to work.
Thanks
Stick
as well.
Boatman. We appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me, Richfield and Jigo. Man, we definitely got to hook up.
Have a blessed day, brother.
Thanks,
You
man.
too. Take care.
Sorry about that, Jig.
Good job, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
So let's actually transition from that to actually playing these calls, man, because we did get a lot of engagement. We got some guys that were giving us a ring and setting the tone for what we want to do with this show, which is not just hear each other talk. We can do this. We're gonna have other hosts. We got commitments from other guys on the board, mods and stuff. They're gonna be doing this so they don't have to hear me over talking you the whole time. Ultimately, what we really would love and what we really want to do with this is have guys call 216-282-6289 anytime. Like there's no, we can only call during this time or whatever. It's 24/7. It's ready to take your call and your rant or whatever you got going for it. 216-282-6289.
Look at the phone. Hello? What's that?
Let's go ahead and give Stick Boatman his time to.
Hello, this is Mason, aka Stick Boltman, and I'm not Dean Wade's former coach, so I'm not privy to this information. But how is he so strong? Either players are late on their water bills, or he just has the ability to shut off the water.
Stick Boatman coming with the heat, man.
There you go, man. Yeah, the old school shut off the water, man. There you go.
Showing a little love to the comeback kid too. Everybody's favorite character on the board right now.
All right, what do you think about Dean Wade?
So I actually like Dean Wade.
Like Dean Wade?
I don't think he's a 3. I think he's a super smart backup 4. Similar to, like, I really like Windler's intelligence, but Dean Wade has a similar kind of, they're like 4-year college players. You know, He played at Kansas State, so, he's from the sticks. I can't remember where that guy said in Kansas he was from. But he's deceptively smart, and he does have his physical limitations. So I don't mind that he's on the roster still. There's another guy that I'm like, man, but we're not going to get into him. How do you feel about Wade right now?
Yeah, I mean, he looks like a homeless man's Kevin Love, I think. I mean, it's easy. It's easy when he's out on the floor to be like, oh, my God, is Kevin Love back out there? And he's
Doppelganger.
not. Yeah, I mean, he's super inefficient this year. Last year, I'm looking at it right now. He was at 43% field goal percentage, 36% 3. He shot okay. His free throws were okay. Yeah, I mean, look, he's just he kind of fills in out there. That was basically him just coming in and busting one of the guys' balls on the board that was claiming to be a.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what that was. So, yeah, I mean, good enough. But, I mean, Dean Wade is what he is. He gets out there and he fills a role.
Absolutely. Do you want him starting right now in this lineup, or are you? Because right now the way
ideally not.
Yeah,
ideally not. No, I mean you want him replaced as soon as possible. I mean, it's like having like Joel Anthony starting, or like having you know what I mean? Like if you have a guy like that, or a little bit better than like a Darnell Jackson. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I can see where JBB was like, look, we got this big slow Lori that's out. I don't want to break that up. So let me put another, and ideally, if Wade was shooting like last year, like you just said, thanks for those numbers, he would kind of plug in seamlessly with just a little less talent than Lori. Poor man's Kevin Love, as you call him. But
I called him homeless.
Homeless, that's right. He's struggling right now with his shot. And as a result, he's not taking it. And we were 3-on-5 when him and Okoro were on the floor at the same time.
You went down to your gym, like if you went down to the Y in a couple weeks and, there was some dude that was like 6'10" down there and everybody's kind of like looking around and just saying like, this guy looks kind of out of place. And you put him on your team and, you just started shooting and nailing everything. He's that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he's
will kill you.
He's right. He's the guy that just kind of came down to the gym and just started shooting and nailing everything. And it's like, oh yeah, that guy's an NBA player. He just kind of does this on the weekends and just busts everybody's balls. But as far as an NBA player, yeah, he'll probably hang around for 10 years just because he's excellent at what he does.
Super smart.
He just plays 8 to 15 minutes.
He kind of reminds me of. You remember we had John Lure for a little while, guy from
I do remember John Lure. West Virginia, maybe?
Wisconsin. I think he was a Badger.
Wisconsin. That's right. Yeah. There's another guy I'm thinking of.
He played for Bo Ryan.
These guys. There's always like 5 to 10 of these guys in the league that all do the same thing. Yes. Yes.
I've got one more.
They're all
what's his name? Dylan Windler reminds me of Chandler Parsons before he literally got his check and stopped playing basketball.
Right.
Like you remember he came out of Florida and everybody was he's not as quick as Mike Miller. He's not as athletic. Because remember, Mike Miller used to be athletic when he first came in.
Mike Miller was a damn good player.
Man, Windler reminds me of Chandler Parsons when he was still grinding and trying to get paid before he actually got paid and stopped playing basketball.
And Chandler Parsons, over the last 4 seasons, he has not played over 40 games. And only 1 season has he shot over 40% from the field. And I think we could probably put Desus out there, and he could probably have a better NBA season.
He'd give us more than Chandler Parsons is giving anybody.
I think he could play better than Chandler Parsons, and I think that he would gladly accept a contract that's exponentially less.
Let's get this
than Chandler Parsons.
Let's get our next guy in here.
Let's do it. It's not Desus, is it?
And this is Wes. And if we had a legit small forward, this team would be beatable. At a scoring small forward, that's all we're missing at this point. Man, I love our young core. I think we're doing good things. And we just got to get lucky and get a legit small forward.
Wes bringing the heat. And I'm not sure who on the board is Wes. So, Wes, we apologize ahead of time. I'm sure we'll put a screen. Yeah, we'll put a screen name to it once this episode publishes. But I agree with him 100%, man. Ben came on a couple days ago and dropped this bomb in the studio and was like, what if we tore this whole thing down? And everybody's like, oh, no. Everybody's having a heart attack. But I agree with Wes in that we're literally a wing away from potentially fighting for home court advantage, even with, the growth that still has to come from our coaching and from these young guys, man.
Yeah, the biggest thing that they are away is experience, right? I mean, the team's still got to gel, and they still got to get that experience rotating. They got to get the experience, moving the ball. They got to get that experience playing big games like they just played. I mean, it can't just be 5 games that you get out there and have Darius Garland, just making free throws to win the game. You got to get him and Mobley hitting, 3-pointers, some tough mid-range shots, getting in there and penetrating and hitting some layups, getting big blocks at the end of the game and all that kind of stuff. It can't be like 3 of those. It can't be 4 of those. It's got to be a fair amount of those. You got to get the playoff games in. But with all that said, from a player standpoint, I tend to agree. And that's why we were kind of hemming and hawing a little bit earlier about Okoro, you know what I mean? Because it's, between him and Windler, I mean, we were to get the guys on the show, punch him in the face.
Right.
Yeah, no, but I mean, the reality is, neither one of those guys, for Windler, he's not healthy. For Okoro, it's that he's not healthy and he's deferring to other guys, right? So, yeah, they need a starting quality player, and they probably are going to need to draft.
I'm not sure. I was just going to say, how old is Isaac Okoro? I think he may still be 20. I don't think he's 21 yet.
He played 1 year, 2. No, he played 2 years.
He played 1 in Auburn, but he was young when he got drafted. I think he was one of the youngest players in that draft still. So I agree with you 100%.
He is 20.
Yep. He's still 20 almost years 21. Old, which is so crazy. And he's a January baby. I think he's close to me, so he's like an Aquarius. So it's not like he's like already 21, 22 or something like that. So I'm willing to give him time to grow into that. We want to see in that Detroit game him show a little growth from what he just showed.
Let's take a quick look. I'm going to take a quick look at his quads and see between that and his horoscope, we could project success.
Absolutely.
In the NBA. He's got some serious quads. I mean, between his quads, his calves are strong. It's very strong. He has elite quad.
He has an elite quad game. I'm sitting next to, shameless plug. I absolutely love Angel Gray. And she announced today.
You do. I heard you chatting her up.
Man, I'm here to tell you. She announced today that she's on her way out. She's going on to a bigger and better opportunity, which is what you want them to do in that field. You know, you want them to be able to keep ascending. So we're sad that we're going to lose her. Sunday, I was sitting like literally right across from her, and we're watching Okoro go through this 45-minute workout, Garland going through his workout and stuff. We were locked in. That's all I'll say about that. Like Isaac Okoro.
You and Angel?
Yeah, absolutely. So.
Now, I can't help but notice that we were talking about quads before you, like in calves, before you got to Angel. Are we talking about legs for? Yeah.
So Angel Gray is she's a beautiful lady, and she's a former hooper too. So
she is.
Yeah.
She got a nice 3-point shot on her Instagram profile the other day.
You can sit back. You can watch these games. You can have discussions with her that are knowledgeable. She's going to break down the game for you. You know, while you guys are sitting over dinner and everything like that. So yeah, she's at the top of my list right now. So yeah, absolutely. I may follow her to where Bristol? Is it Bristol where she's going to?
ESPN is in Bristol, Connecticut. That's correct.
Let's bring in our next guy, which I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm gonna let you do it once he finished introducing himself.
This is Foucault87. I'm really excited about this Cavs team. This is the most excited I've been since some of the early LeBron years, and I've only known the LeBron days, and it's just great to be able to see a team that plays with this much energy, this much excitement, and this much chemistry, and I'm looking forward to a great future for the Cavs, especially with the way the season's gone, and that Knicks win was something.
So I'll handle this. Michel Foucault is a French philosopher.
Michel Foucault.
I don't think I could tell you like what his ideas are, but I do recall that he is a French philosopher. I can nail that down for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. I agree. I mean, obviously with LeBron, it was. I mean, look, every year that you have LeBron on your team, you're in contention. I mean, that's fun, right? I mean, your team is always going to be at the top of the pack. You're going to be no less than third. And once you get to the playoffs, you got a guy that's going to be a triple-double threat. And I mean, you might lose 2 games in each series before you get to the finals at worst. And then you're going to end up winning every series till you get to the finals. And unless you're facing the Warriors, you got a shot. Now, they're in a rebuild section here, but I mean, they've got talent. I mean, the front office is successful. They're bringing in guys that are a lot of fun. They're a scrappy team. Looks like JBB is doing a good job. They're a fun team to watch. They're moving the ball well. They're rotating well. We're not watching a team that's got a bunch of garbage players out there.
Right.
We're watching a team that appears to be doing things the right way.
Thank you.
That's a lot of fun.
Mother Altman, I appreciate that glowing review of your son's vision for.
Okay. You want? Let me. All right. Thank you. I'll throw some negative out there. Not everything's perfect, right? There are some players. I mean, you know what? I don't need to do it. We've already bashed a couple of guys.
You want to hear something?
I know what you're saying.
I'm actually coming around to feeling that same way, and I'm notorious on the board for going after the coaching and the leadership and everything like that. But probably in the last few months, man, Kobe's been winning me over. Like I was watching him very astutely on Sunday at the Garden, and he's got a little.
Oh, I don't do that.
He's got a little extra swag.
What does he do?
He's got a little extra swag to him now. He? So he's working the sidelines, checking in with his players. Does he? He's over on Celebrity Road, dapping up guys and stuff. So you can tell Kobe sees. And he, from that Mobley pick that we were really grateful to get, you can tell that Kobe sees his vision is coming to fruition, and there's still moves to be made in order to make sure we don't waste a gift like Mobley. But
yes,
pieces are starting to look better. You know, like Allen, which was a diamond that Kobe found as well. Garland, like there's some of these guys are starting to fall into place, and you can see his vision a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Which was impossible to see a lot of the time under some of these previous ass hands.
Man, I'm gonna tell you,
GMs.
Let's get our last caller in that we got here, and then we're gonna transition to the next game coming up and close out, man.
Okay.
Hey, this is Marcus. I got two things. First of all, I freaking hate NBA blackout rules because I can't listen to AC tonight being in the DMV. But I just want to say Evan Mobley is about to get a couple of GMs fired because he's about to have 4 times as many wins as the 2 guys picked in front of him. Go Cavs.
My brother from the mod team, Marcus, gracing us with a call. Thank you, Marcus, man. We appreciate you, brother. I want to touch on both of his points. Being in Nashville, so far away, I went out my way. I'm like, okay, I'm doing streams and stuff like that, but I've got to find a way to be able to hear AC. Dude, I love AC. Like, there's Mr. Cavalier. Get that big stuff out of here. I love Fred. I miss Fred. Fred and AC they grew on me. But AC specifically, man, he's got some fumbles and bumbles, and it takes him a little time to warm up during the game.
Part of the fun.
Absolutely. Man, his passion, man, you know that he lives and breathes this just like us. There's going to be a lot of calls that we're going to use from AC to get feedback on these guys' calls and everything like that. I'm a strong proponent of AC. Last night in the game thread, I think it was Kilgore or somebody like that was like, man, AC is fumbling and bumbling. And I'm always going to come to his defense because AC can do no wrong in my eyes.
I'm going to throw in another bizarre reference real quick for you. Kilgore Trout is a Kurt Vonnegut story reference.
Kilgore Trout is a Kurt. You're gonna have to fill me in on what Kurt Vonnegut.
It's just a. He's an author.
I'm like, what is it? All right. So next time we do a show together, I'm throwing all these Marcus Garveys and
he's an author from the book Slaughterhouse 5.
Dude, there's a cultural.
Don't hang out too long on this.
There's a cultural gap that we're going to bridge over the course of hosting these shows together. Every time there's another co-host that's locked in with us, Damage, and we've only had a couple back and forths. But I'm like, man, this dude gets me. Like we can talk Joey Badass and hip hop and everything, and I'll get on with Jig, and Jig is throwing these cultural references. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Nobody knows this shit. People that went to the same school as me and lived in the same town as me or in the same class as me, I don't remember any of this bullshit.
You're killing me, Brian, Ohio. You're killing me. Meanwhile, Damage, I guarantee you, he's invited to the barbecue. Damage knows what's going on. He knows to go get some hot sauce Williams over on the east side up there. But then the second point that Marcus made was Mobley and those in Detroit and Houston passing on this guy. Just like we saw when those GMs passed on Giannis, and there may not be 2 or 3 of those GMs from that draft class that are still in charge of their team. I'm not putting a nail in the coffin for Troy Weaver or for whoever is running the show down there in Houston. But how do you pass on Evan Mobley, man? Like what?
So, I mean, let's talk really briefly. Were Green and Cunningham both taken in front of him? Is that how that went?
Cunningham to the Pistons first, then Green second.
Pistons, right?
Absolutely.
So both of these guys are chucking so far. They're shooting super low efficiency. I mean, we're looking at guys that are kind of shooting in the same range as they're like Mendoza line dudes right now. That's not going to continue through the whole season, right? I mean, you got to figure that these dudes are going to end up, I don't know. I would hope for their sake, at least like low 40s, low 30s, for the 3-pointers. Sure. I think they're probably both like 70% plus for free throws. But I mean, look, with Mobley, it's very clear that the guy's a generational talent, right? As a Tim Duncan clone, I think we all know that there's really nobody in the league like him right now. No, he's his own guy.
I don't remember who said it on the board. They called him Slim Duncan, and
Yeah,
as much
that's
as
good.
I
That's
want
really
to,
good.
I love the name Unicorn. I want to stick with it, but Slim Duncan, man, it's dude is the more and more poise he shows, and the more he shows he's playing with his brain.
Yeah.
Man,
He's some kind of mix of like an Anthony Davis, like just being serious. He's somewhere in there like an Anthony Davis, Kevin Garnett.
Right.
In all seriousness, there's not a whole hell of a lot of Tim Duncan other than like being cerebral, and he does have some post moves. His footwork is really good. He's somewhere in there. He's clearly a generational. There's even some Durant in there a little bit. But these other two dudes, I think right now they look very ordinary.
Sure.
They're not on good teams. It's just when these GMs miss on guys that are generational talents and they grab guys who look like they're going to be stars and they flat out aren't, you're in big trouble.
I agree.
You're in big trouble, especially when they're guards.
We had and shout out to Marcus, man. That's one of my favorite posters on the board. He really appreciate him. Yeah. He went in and changed his SIG so that everybody can see that number, and I'm gonna follow suit on that, man. That's awesome. He jumped on board and contributed. So last night, actually, or the night before, I think it was last night, Cunningham and Green went head to head. And Cunningham actually, I think he was 4 for 8 from 3, and the Pistons actually beat the Rockets. So we've got the Pistons coming up here. And we want to speak just for a moment, not necessarily on what do we have to do to make sure we come out of, are we going up to Detroit, or are we, wherever we're playing this game at, we got the Pistons coming to the Rocket.
Cleveland, yeah. Pistons are playing Cleveland, at Cleveland.
And so the Pistons are coming in, and they are the worst in the East, 2-8. We got them on Friday night, I believe.
It's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow, 7:30.
What do we need to do to turn the page on that tough loss? And real quickly, the Wizards are actually 8-3, and they're the number 1 team in the East right now.
That's right.
So it's not like last night's game. You know, we lost to a bunch of, even though it seemed like those guys were misfit
super strong team. Yeah. Absolutely.
They're 8-3. They're killing people right now. What do we got to do, Jig, to turn the page and make sure we get a win against Detroit on Friday?
Well, Cavs didn't really do a whole hell of a lot wrong in that game. I mean, they did everything that they'd been doing, except they just had kind of a couple brain farts at the end of the game. I mean, I don't think I would change a whole hell of a lot up, except I would just do better rotations on those couple of plays if I could do it again. I mean, we listened to that end of game interview with Garland. Agree with what he said. I mean, it sounds like they're on top of it.
Right. Totally sober too. That was pretty awesome. It was a totally sober take. He was like, look, we just, we were fighting. We were battling. We just made a couple rotation gaffes at the end there.
Look, and I think that Mobley's so exciting that people would be watching these games, even if they were like a 500 type team, but they're winning games, man. I mean, they're in that probably like 5 seed range right now, I would guess, which I'm thinking, you probably end up like even a little bit lower than that, and you're probably happy. But, you hang out in there if you play. This stuff sounds like so lame, but I mean, you just keep playing tough. You rotate, you move the ball, you get your top guys like Garland penetrating, pushing the ball out to Mobley, using Mobley as the hub of the offense, like just like we had a great call about earlier.
Absolutely.
I want to see Mobley. He was taking some 3-point shots, which I'm fine with. I really want to see him just really kind of keep expanding his game. I have no problem with that, even if he misses those shots.
Agreed.
Having him operate as the hub of the offense. Even if he's missing some shots out there, I'm totally fine with that.
And to speak to that last night, the Pistons were actually led by Jeremy Grant, who's like feast or famine. So he had 35 against the Rockets, which is kind of weird.
$20 million a year,
man. The Rockets do have a lot of interchangeability. They got Christian Wood and some of those guys that probably should have matched up with him a little bit better. So we don't have that for our night. We have Mobley that's going to be moving around. We got Allen. But if Jeremy Grant and Cunningham are going to be, those wing guys creating from the outside, like that could create problems for us going into this game here.
I mean, you have to throw Okoro. Who's Okoro going to be grabbing?
I'm thinking Cunningham. I'm hoping Cunningham.
So he's going to grab Cunningham, and Garland's going to be grabbing
Killian Hayes, I think, is the point guard up there.
Yeah, that's right.
So then Garland on Hayes, and Mobley then will be on Grant for the most part to start, I believe.
Okay.
Which matched up pretty well.
I mean, so that's it. I mean, you're really not going to change a whole hell of a lot of what you're doing. I mean, you just got to – they're playing really good basketball. You just got to keep executing. I've been super impressed with the way they're executing at the end of the game.
I've been enjoying these games as much as there's a little bit of a curmudgeon inside where I'm like, I want this to be perfect. Every night there's been something to walk away from and really feel optimistic about and see. We're heading in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I feel the same way. I wish I was enough of a basketball expert to come out and tell you like they need to make these, huge overhaul changes to the games, but I can't say that I've seen anything like that. I will tell you that again that Jeremy Grant is making $20 million, and I know that the cap went up, but to me that
guy should not be getting paid like that, right?
I don't know. I mean, that sounds a little wild to me.
So we'll say this last thing to mix in some of the board, and then we're going to close out this initial episode here. There's been some talk on the board. It's like, hey guys, like Jeremy Grant should be like one of the trade targets. Like he would plug in to that 3 spot that we're talking about. I don't see that, Jig. Like what is he? 27,
no, that's what
28?
I mean. No. So no. I mean, he's making $20 million a year, and he's not like a super.
Doesn't contribute to winning much.
Sorry, I'm hung up on that, but I didn't realize that until I just looked at that. No, I'm not a Jeremy Grant expert either, so I don't want to get too hung up on him. I can't speak.
My hope is, and when we don't have any updates on this yet, so we don't know where Lowry is at, like in his protocol progression. I think it was mentioned on the board at some point in time that Love definitely had a positive, but it's unknown the status of Lowry. So we're hoping that we get to see him before this weekend is over here, because his presence is definitely missed in that lineup.
Quick thing.
Yes, sir.
Since we did talk about the rookies, Scotty Barnes, really, really good player.
My brother. I love Scotty Barnes.
Guy's super versatile on defense. Offensively, dude's doing a little bit of it all. I love Scotty. I mean, it's obvious. Mobley is better. I mean, he's even more versatile than Barnes is, but man, really, really excellent player.
I got killed a lot for my love for Scotty Barnes, and this started at the beginning.
Did you?
Yeah, at the beginning of last season. So I follow these kids from high school up, and so I watched him at Mount Verde.
Do you really? You follow these guys from high school up?
I got guys right now that I was watching in that Duke Kentucky game that I can already tell you. I already see 2 or 3 pros that were in that game. So I start pretty early, but with Barnes, he was at Mount Verde Academy down in Florida with Cade Cunningham, Moses Moody, and Sharp.
Okay.
He was the best of those 4. Like there was no question to me. And I know, everybody fell in love with Cade, because he was the better scorer. And so when he went off to Oklahoma State, and they struggled a little bit, and then Barnes went to Florida State with Leonard Hamilton, and he became the bench guy. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, no, Cade's definitely better. Dude, I said as soon as the season started, Barnes is in my top 3. It was Mobley, and it was Kuminga or Green, and then Barnes. And I'm telling you, there's intangibles. He's like Draymond Green, but actually with the ideal. Yeah, he's with the ideal measurements and the athleticism that Draymond will never have. This guy.
Right, yeah. Draymond's not super athletic player. Right, that's exactly right. He's smart, super aware.
And I had some good Twitter back and forth, like one with my boy M Young, who's going to be contributing here. Way back in like December, he was like, dude, I don't see it with Barnes. Like, we don't need him in our lineup. And I was like, nah, trust me. I'm telling you, there's hoopers and there's scorers, and like he's a hooper. Like, whether he could not hit a shot outside of 5 feet, he's going to impact games with the way he approaches it and how he gets guys to play with him and everything. And that's exactly what we're seeing from him.
Super efficient, talented dude. Yeah, no, I really like Barnes, and I would never take him over Mobley.
By year's end, the rookie of the year, as long as they stay healthy, it's going to be Mobley and Barnes are going to be fighting for it, depending on where those 2 teams are with the records and everything.
You got it.
My brother Jig, this has been awesome. We got some chopping up and stuff to do, but I look forward, man, to jumping back in here. And once we publish this, getting a lot more guys calling in so we can turn these microphones on and just have some fun, man. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. Maybe next time get some chatter in there about Jared Allen and superstar Spanish I don't know what his nickname is. Spanish superstar.
Ricardo Rubio. We did not touch on those two guys, so we're definitely gonna have to do it on our next episode.
Save it for next time.
My brother.
This is Joe Tate. Have a good night, everybody.